Let's get into the Aaron Rodgers situation. He does an interview with Kenny Mayne of SportsCenter the other night. He talks about relationships. It's about people in the building. And so, of course, you know that the Packers are going to be asked about this. They're going to continue to be asked about it. It is the story of the offseason in the NFL. And so their head coach, Matt LaFleur, he talked about Aaron Rodgers and the interview and just sort of the feeling about getting Rodgers back in the building.
Aaron definitely knows how we feel about him, how he's such an important part to our football team, such an important part to our organization. And, we're just going to continue to try to work through this and hopefully can get him back in the building at some point.
Yeah, and that is the key term there, back in the building, because obviously he is not there and not partaking in OTAs. And then
that's right.
There was a list that came out, and I just want you to tell me what all of these players have in common. And in fact, do we have any game show music, any Fox Sports Radio really early in the morning on the West Coast?
That'd be nice. Let's spice this thing up a little bit.
Listen, Roberto Flores on the ones and twos when he's not making an amazing dish or trying to con people into thinking that dark Mexican beer is better than lighter stuff. When he's not doing any of that, when he's not trying to con people, he is known to just pop up with any sort of game show music you can find. And here we go. It is game show time, and this is appropriate considering Aaron Rodgers' threat to leave the Green Bay Packers is to go be the host of Jeopardy, a show which, by the way, sucks. Let's just call it what it is. Jeopardy stinks. Wheel of Fortune's better. Supermarket Sweep is better. There's a lot of game shows that are better than Jeopardy.
There's nothing
most
better
overrated
than
game show.
I'm sorry, there's nothing better than that show.
Let me tell you something. We could go on and on about Supermarket Sweep. I didn't know honey baked hams were expensive until I watched Supermarket Sweep, and it was like the first thing everybody went through. I had no idea.
Well, it costs a little extra for that honey.
No, well, listen, but you grew up behind the gates. I'm more the common man. I grew up on microwave burritos.
You grew up in Thousand Oaks dodging golf balls from Sherwood Country Club. That's where you grew up.
Listen, some people call them golf balls. I call them bullets. All right, it depends on how you look at things. I grew up buying the Tina's burritos.
Little white things with dimples.
Listen, the Tina's burritos, the microwave burritos. That's what I grew up on. I didn't grow up on the honey baked ham. But nonetheless, we transition over to as we get back on track here and we're trying to keep things square here. We get back to a list that I found of players that were not at OTAs for the Packers. I want you to tell me what they all have in common. All right, you ready? Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard, Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Oh, I love that hyphenated name.
Equanimous St. Brown, probably butchered that, and Devin Funchess. I'll call him E. St. Brown. E. St. Brown.
St. Brown, but yeah.
Well, I got Valdez-Scantling right, so that counts as two. And then Devin Funchess. What do all of those players have in common, Brady Quinn, that didn't attend OTAs for the Packers?
They all play wide receiver.
Yeah! There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Brady Quinn on the board, and you are a winner. You are a winner, Brady Quinn.
By the way, a side note, you know what I love about Devin Funchess not showing up? He opted out last year. So literally in the past year now in an offseason has done nothing for the Green Bay Packers. Full disclosure, I don't think he's a guarantee to even make the roster. And so, of all the people who, one, have not built up any equity with Aaron Rodgers, Funchess would fall into that category. And yet, he's, being the good teammate that he is, saying, if our quarterback's not showing up, we're not showing up either.
It's like taking all your sick days. The boss calls you today. Can't wait to get you back. Hope you're feeling better. Yeah, totally. By the way, I'm going to take a couple vacation days too, just to give you the heads up. I'm not going to be here at the office moving forward. All right. This was clearly not just a coincidence, right?
No, come on. I talked about how Shannon Sharp was flexing on everyone with the call to Julio. This is Aaron Rodgers flexing. Now, I'm not saying that he is deliberately telling them to stay, away from the OTAs and all that. I think it's a demonstration. I think Devontae Adams is the one who probably orchestrated this. But he's saying, look, that's my quarterback, all right? Cue up the Terrell Owens sound. That's my quarterback, and we're in agreement. It's like this team's going nowhere without him, so we're not going to show up if he's not going to be there because you want us to work with this Jordan Love guy, Davante Adams said, I'm not going to be here. If Aaron's gone, he's probably going to be gone too. I would not be surprised if Davante's not that next receiver that if in a year from now Aaron Rodgers moves on, he's not trying to move on as well. Maybe to the same spot, maybe not, but there will be some disgruntlement there, I think, from Davante Adams. Look, Jordan Love's been there. They've seen him practice. They know where he's at. All right, they've got a good idea of where he's at. They're taking their own self-interest, all right, their own well-being, and they're putting it on the line for Aaron Rodgers because they know that's how much he means to them, both personally and professionally. But the reality is this is a big-time move by these players. And also maybe it digs into a deeper issue. And, Aaron talked about it being a people-person business, the culture and all that. He kept kind of referencing that when he spoke to Kenny Mayne. Well, maybe there is deeper issues there. Maybe some of the players are tired of it's not just Aaron. It's other players in the past, but current players who are tired how Brian Gutekunst acts or how Matt LaFleur acts as a head coach, and they're trying to make a statement and take this opportunity to kind of flex on the Packers now.
Well, there was a story that came. So when Matt LaFleur got hired, one of the stories that came out was there was a front office person. I don't know if it was Mark Murphy. I don't know if it was Gutekunst, but somebody reached out to Aaron Rodgers and said, basically, cut the crap. No more of what happened with Mike McCarthy, where you're taking shots at him in public and all that stuff. So I don't know if that's part of maybe where the relationship sort of veered off the rails, but it's clear Rodgers and Gutekunst don't get along. Just from the outside looking in. That seems to be the clear issue here. And I don't think Rodgers has it in him to come out and say, hey, you got to get rid of this guy, because I don't think everything that I've heard about him, and him, I've never met the guy, he has no idea who I am, but him and you've talked with him. He doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to come out and just call for jobs and say this guy's got to lose his job. Maybe this is a roundabout way of doing it, but what is this going to accomplish? I mean, these guys are going to have to report eventually, right? I mean, what's this going to accomplish?
No, I mean, eventually they're going to have to report. But I just think it shows, where the unity is. We're basically where their trust is in their quarterback. I think the other thing you have to kind of look over this roster and look at and say, I mean, how well has Brian Gutekunst done in drafting around this roster? I think you could make a case for, I believe he drafted Jair Alexander. I believe he drafted Rashawn Gary, which, those first rounders in those particular spots, you say are a pretty decent pick. But, outside of that, yeah, he's made some additions where he's signed some free agents. That's because they have cash. That was because they had the means and the cash to do so. But that largely comes from, your predecessor, who came before you, putting you in a good cap scenario. We're kind of early on in this process, but everyone's kind of trusted Brian Gutekunst and the Packers have done a good job. Maybe it's just been Aaron Rodgers. We saw what Mike McCarthy looked like without Aaron Rodgers for a period of time. Now, granted, there's only so many games he had with Dak Prescott, and in his first year as a head coach, dealing with COVID and all that, but it didn't really look good. So now, we'll see what it looks more like this year, but, we kind of saw that narrative play out, too, with New England. Tom Brady's not there anymore. How do the New England Patriots look? I mean, the Bucs won the Super Bowl, so I think players are starting to understand their power. Players are starting to understand they can have a voice and they can do a demonstration like this that doesn't hurt their wallets, their pocketbooks, because if they don't have a workout bonus, it's a voluntary OTA. They don't need to be. They're not going to get fined for not being there. They might lose out on making that workout bonus because you have to hit a certain percentage. But this demonstration shows unity with Aaron Rodgers, the fact that they're on his side in this whole thing, and it's kind of a low-key flex on the Packers. And I don't know if you want to take a break, but there is one other thing I would just tease or say to you this. There is one reason, too, where I feel like Aaron Rodgers has gotten away with this, Brett Favre has gotten away with this. Those players can get away with this for a specific reason to Green Bay.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point, and we will be getting into that here. We're going to catch up with Chris Mannix as well, too. Tons to talk about when it comes to the NBA. I will say this. It is kind of ironic that Aaron Rodgers' big complaint with the organization is they haven't given him more, and yet the guys that he does have are going to bat for him, not realizing, hey, what he's acknowledging is that you're not enough for him. I just, it is a little bit ironic.
I'll go back and again say, if they didn't trade up to take Jordan Love, we're not having this conversation. We're not.
Oh, man.
I mean, that's the reality of it. Like, he can say that it didn't bother him. It did. Like, we can say whatever we want. If they don't take a wide receiver in last year's draft, but they don't draft up to take Jordan Love or trade up to take Jordan Love, you can't tell me that we're still in this position right now.
Yeah, but again, that was what you pointed out, where he can say it's not about Jordan. I love Jordan and all that stuff. That is where this whole thing took a turn, and he got extra motivated to want to prove them wrong and all of that. But there's a lot.
That was extra motivated.
Well, listen, I'm just saying, man. Like
110%.
I'm just saying, like, he needed. And from what I heard this from a former NFL quarterback. And again, this is what I heard. He said that the Packers drafted Jordan Love to sort of light a fire under Aaron Rodgers.
That's right. So now all 31 other teams are going to start trading up and drafting quarterbacks in the first round just to motivate the current quarterback in the roster.
100%.
That's right.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Listen, it's like if your wife sells your car, you can say, well, if she did it without telling me, that's awful. But I would argue and say, no, she just wanted you to work on your cardio. That was a motivating factor. So that's just, there's a different approach you could take to all this stuff.